Hey everyone, Jono here. In our last challenge run, we were able to successfully beat the game with machine monsters, or at least the ones available to us in the first run of the campaign. This earned the deck an upper B ranking on our boards. But I wonder, what if we had access to the monsters that only drop from the final 6 opponents? Monsters like Metalzoa and I guess Giganto, but mainly Metal frickin' Zoa. On top of that, you were also denied 13 monsters worth of trivia that I couldn't really get around to before Nightmare. Which brings us to today's video. To satiate your thirst for knowledge, carnage, and I guess your general thirst, I plan to cover off the remainder of this trivia and beat the final 6 once more, having access to Metalzoa. So on that note, let's kick off the trivia. Navigating down to number 286, we have the card Gatekeeper. Gatekeeper is a card that I partially covered in the video. This monster is a counterpart to Royal Guard and shares the same 3D animation, albeit it's recolored. Gatekeeper appeared in the anime twice, once in episode 32 during Keith's duel against Joey, and later again in episode 106 as one of the cards in Duke, Tristan and Serenity's deck in their duel against Nesbit. Navigating down to entry 409, we have the card Giganto. In Forbidden Memories, Giganto is the second card that drops from Sebek, albeit at this point of the game, it's nothing special. In the anime, Giganto appeared in episode 32 during Keith's flashback. It was one of the many cards he dropped when he passed out at the bar. I feel you, buddy. Due to its rather measly attack power, this card will likely not make it to my final 6 deck for this run. Oh well. This segues nicely into card 408, Giant Mech Soldier. This is a card that featured in our main deck at some point in the challenge run. There isn't much with regards to trivia on it, having no anime appearances. In the OCG, this card dropped in Booster Pack 2 back in 1999, and its TCG appearance waited until 2019 to drop itself in Speed Duel. I think it was Trials of the Kingdom. The next card on the list is number 557, Steel Ogre Grotto number 1. Steel Ogre Grotto is a machine counterpart to Rock Ogre Grotto, and in Forbidden Memories they use the same 3D assets, albeit a bit of a recolor between a rock and steel respectively. Steel Ogre Grotto has a number of counterparts. I guess you could almost call it an archetype, as there are 5 Ogre Grotto cards. A small disclaimer, the similarity of these cards in name is something that is unique to the English TCG, and I guess a small number of non-Japanese languages as well. The Japanese names for these cards have no numbering, and the card names themselves are vastly different from each other. Steel Ogre Grotto, aka Giant Idol of Steel, has the following counterparts. Rock Ogre Grotto number 1, which in Japanese is translated to Cavern Jin Ogre Rock. Rock Ogre Grotto number 2, in Japanese translated to War Earth. Stone Ogre Grotto, in Japanese is translated to Stone Giant. And Steel Ogre Grotto number 2, which in Japanese is translated to Iron Fist Golem. Moving on, Steel Ogre Grotto number 1 appears in the anime during episode 133, during Joey's dream, against some kid who used it to fuse into Metal Dragon. And that's about it. We now navigate to number 648, and the card this time is Machine Attacker. It's an OCG only card releasing in Booster Pack 5 and is a counterpart to Cyber Soldier of Darkworld. Like with almost every counterpart in Forbidden Memories, the 3D animations for them are the same, albeit with a bit of a recolor depending on the card. Machine Attacker is red, and Cyber Soldier of Darkworld is like a blue-purple. Making our way up to number 513, we have Guardian of the Throne Room. This card was the first light machine monster releasing in Spell Ruler, and it features on the card artwork of Autonomous Action Unit. In Forbidden Memories, Guardian of the Throne Room is shown as being a level 5 monster, despite being level 4 in the TCG. In Forbidden Memories, Guardian of the Throne Room is one of the very few cards that can fuse with Hibikime to make Musician King. Moving up a couple hundred cards, we land on number 355, which is Megasonic Eye. Megasonic Eye is obtainable in Forbidden Memories via card password only. It costs 290 star chips and the code is 07562372. In the OCG, Megasonic Eye was the first Dark Machine monster releasing in the limited edition Janochi pack in 1999. As for the TCG, that popped out in Legendary Collection 3 Yugi's World. As for its anime appearances, Megasonic Eye appeared in episode 50 during Yugi's duel against the possessed bandit Keith, and again in episode 88 during Marik's fake card flashbacks. Similarly, in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX episode 85, it pops up again when Pegasus recollects the same flashback. Lastly, Megasonic Eye also appears in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Opening for Battle City, in the Rare Hunter scene. Moving back down another 200, we land on number 512, and this time it's Cannon Soldier. Cannon Soldier appears in the artwork of a crap ton of cards, those being Autonomous Action Unit, Blasting Fuse, Covering Fire, Divine Wrath, Linear Accelerator Cannon, Mass Diver, Transmodify, Fuse Line, and Rear Misfire. This card also has a turn counterpart called Turn Cannon Soldier, and also a counterparted upgrade called Cannon Soldier Mark II. In the anime, Cannon Soldier first appeared in episode 41 during the duel between Rebecca and Yugi. It then appeared in episode 106 in the duel between Tristan, Duke, and Serenity against Nesbit. Lastly, episode 109, it showed up once more in Lecter's flashback. The next card on our list is number 297, Cyber Soldier of Darkworld. It is a counterpart to Machine Attacker and was released in the TCG as part of Tournament Pack 1 and appears in the card artwork of Soldier's Revolt. As for its anime appearances, it appeared in Yu-Gi-Oh! Episode 166 in the duel between Alistair and Kaiba, and then in 3 Yu-Gi-Oh! GX episodes. In episode 65, it popped up in Zane's fight against the Mad Dog of Darkness, in 144 it popped up in Mr. Stein's flashback, and in episode 128 it was used by a dual ghoul trying to get past Hasselberry and Axel. The next card on our list is number 413, that being Cyber Soldier. Cyber Soldier can be obtained in Forbidden Memories by fusing a warrior and a machine card under 1500 attack. Lore-wise, this is one of the many monsters that serves the Machine King. As for its anime appearances, there really isn't any, aside from episode 1 where it featured in Kaiba's Bribe briefcase. Moving 3 spaces to the right, the next card on our list is card 416, Blocker. There really isn't any trivia on it. When I first saw this card, I thought it was a carrot and not a machine. Anywho, the next card on the list is number 585, when we get up to it, that being Mechanical Snail. As mentioned in the insect video, Mechanical Snail is a counterpart to Spiked Snail, and released in the TCG in the Spell Ruler pack. Like with all counterparts, it shares the same 3D model as Spiked Snail, albeit with a bit of a recolor, changing its shell to purple. Look at this guy, frickin' love it. The last card in our trivia list is number 421, that being Cyber Commander. And boy oh boy is there a bit of trivia for this one. Let's start with the video games. The gun in Cyber Commander is edited to make it look a little less realistic, basically by painting it like a toy gun. Despite the pretty bad coloration, it still looks like an Ingram Mach 10 submachine gun. You can apparently tell because of the rear end receiver added to the butt and the very yellow silencer. According to the wikis, Cyber Commander is based off Tristan Taylor in the Japanese version of this show. It's also his favourite card, and in Duel Links he has an ability themed around this card, even though it is crap as frick. The monster also appears in the artwork of Rescue XYZ. XZ? I don't know. Moving to its anime appearances, it showed up in episode 12 during everyone showing their favourite cards to each other, then again in episode 13 in the duel with Yami Bakura. In episode 16, it's seen in Kaiba's briefcase. In episode 22, it appeared in the flashback from Teo when she remembers Yami's duel with Bakura. And in episode 26, it can be seen in Seto Kaiba's briefcase once more. Oh yeah, and episode 37, this is also a card in Tristan's flashback. No surprise there. In the Virtual World saga, it appeared in episode 106. Tristan used this card against his duel with Duke and Serenity against Nesbit. In 5Ds, it showed up in episode 90 in one of Sergio's flashbacks. Hoo-wee, that's a lot of friggin' trivia. About 8.5 minutes worth. With that out of the way, it's time to tackle the final 6. I'm actually going to do 2 iterations of this gauntlet. First run, we're going to be challenging the final 6, having Sebek drop us Metalzoa during the run. Metalzoa drops from an SA power rank, albeit at a 0.2% chance. If you're expecting this to happen in a vanilla run, just know that the odds are friggin' stacked against you. As for the second run, we'll be running 3 copies of this armoured behemoth, properly simulating what it'd be like to beat the final 6 in the post-game or with a Pocketstation. Anywho, jumping back into the action, Seto opens the door for us once more, and we're faced with our greatest adversary, Sebek. Why do I say greatest? Because we have to get this guy to drop Metalzoa. Remember, 0.2% chance. Wish me luck. Sebek as an opponent is easy. So long as you summon something over 3100 attack, you win. Quite simple. The only monsters he's going to ever throw against you that are going to pose any sort of threat are Metalzoa and Zoa. Ironically, Zoa is stronger than Metalzoa given the field boost. Now this first iteration of the gauntlet, or I guess second if you're counting the first video, is something that I could have actually done during the story. I don't know why I didn't do it, but if I would have hazarded a guess, it would be that my sanity had just simply run out. 0.2% chance means that I needed a heck of a lot of restarts, and I guess having sat through about, I don't know, a bajillion duels to get Labyrinth Tank, I should have done so. Anywho, getting a cycle where he dropped us a Metalzoa, we progress all the way up to Neku. Ooh. Remembering to put the card in our deck, we challenge it. Right, so yeah, this is what happened. We didn't put the card in our deck when we challenged Neku. Jump cut. All is right in the world. We're back, we're up against Neku, and we finally have a Metalzoa. Where is it? Heck if I know, we only have one copy. Which is another reason why I didn't want to spend too much time on this during the main run. But this is why we have video 2. To show off if it really would have made much of a difference. Albeit at one copy, you can at least grind down your hand till you draw it, and then you'd need about 3 equip cards in order to hit over an Ultimate Dragon. Or 2 if one of those equip cards is Megamorph. Firing off a trusty Raigeki for the win, we attack the game with Mechanical Chaser. Ugh, I slurred my words on that one. We get a job change mirror. Better pocket that one for the Fiend run. Anywho, number 2, we're back up to Heishin. If my chest looks a little different, i.e. my deck chest, remember how I forgot to put Metalzoa into our deck against Neku? Well, guess who had to restart all the way back at freaking Simon because we beat the gauntlet without the card in our deck? Yep, this guy right here. With another heavily stacked handful of equip cards, it looks like Heishin2 isn't really going to put up much of a fight. It's a shame. We haven't really had a chance to showcase Metalzoa. Doesn't help that I soloed this with Raigeki, but hey, it was an itch that needed to be scratched. And speaking of opponents scratched from the competition, Heishin2 goes down, Seto steals his rod, and we progress the storyline. Now, playing this deck a second time makes me question whether I rated it too low, but if I go back to my Insect playthrough, we're basically equal in power. I think my key deciding factor as to whether I put a deck up in the A rank versus a B rank is probably the use of Megamorph. If I feel that the deck is strong enough to beat the game without a Megamorph, it should sit at an A rank. However, if we need at least 3 cards to hit over an Ultimate Dragon, that's a bit of a crutch. So even whilst grinding the ever-loving crap out of this game to get a Labyrinth Tank, it still needs 3 equip cards to beat the last 2 to 3 opponents. If anything, maybe I should have split my rankings to have an A and an S, but we'll see how we go with the remaining decks. We still have Spellcasters, Dragons and heck, Warriors, and they have some very beefy heavy hitters. We'll see how we go with that. Getting back to the duel, we're getting our butt kicked by Seto. No surprise there. Truthfully, I think I misplayed the first turn. I should have waited till I had a few more equip cards before summoning Metalzoa. I think I was just eager to show the card off. Summoning forth a beefed up Royal Guard with a Mercury Guardian Star, we set it to defense mode, knowing that it can defend against the Ultimate Dragon attack. With that, Seto sets a Widespread Ruin. That's annoying for us, we have to waste some cards to get rid of it. Never fear, we have the ever so regal King Mech Bass to pave the way forward for our victory. Gotta love that card. To my biggest surprise looking at the comments section of the first machine video, all of you want to see a fish deck. I was not expecting a fish deck. I have already drafted up the plotline for my other type, so maybe I'll make fish follow on from that one. Getting back to the duel, we've triggered the self-KO'd glitch against Seto, and we fire off a Raigeki for the win. We attack the game with 6,900 attack points, and we punish this guy like the eagle that he's dropped us. Continuing the story, Heishin pulls out his Millennium Spoon, forcing us to fork over our items. Now there's absolutely no need to sit through this storyline once more. You've already seen it, time and time again. Heck, even for this run, I've already done this storyline. I'm contemplating adding in another jump cut, but there is one scene that I always love editing. After we get Heishin lit, DarkNite turns his attention to us, and we activate another Millennium Strap card. This time, we upgraded it to an Wtih. In America indeed. Glossing over the fact that this is the second playthrough where we've pulled a gun out on a person of colour, we decide to settle our differences with a game of cards. When I say we, I mean Badly Keith. Now I know how Maxor feels when he makes some of the jokes in his videos. Anywho, getting back to the duel, he summons down a Black Skull Dragon, which we set a Widespread Ruin just in case it's not what we thought it was. Passing the turn back, he really doesn't have much. One of the really annoying things about Darknite as an opponent is his trap card Reverse Trap. Enjoy watching your 2000 attack point boosted monster end up all the way down to 0. Anywho, number 4, we're down to the last turn of the duel. Firing off a Raigeki, we attack for game with Labyrinth Tank and with Machine King. Darknite goes down, doesn't matter what he drops us, and we make our way to Nitemare. Thus far, having Metalzoa in our deck hasn't really had much of an impact to the playthrough. I stand by my first ranking of putting this deck as a B, because even whilst having this card, it doesn't make a noticeable difference unless you draw it. The second playthrough we'll pull off, which has 3 copies of the card, should clearly show off how easy we could steamroll opponents. But enough of that for now. We fire off a Raigeki to clear his field, which paves the way for us to beef up our monster with Megamorph. And there we go, even better. We drew a Metalzoa. 2 Megamorphs and a laser cannon armor later, and we're beefed up to 5500 attack points. We win. Nitemare has no equip cards, so it's GG easy for us. Oh, for those of you asking me whether I can beat the game having every opponent deck out, just know that Nitemare only has about 2 cards in his entire deck pool that fuse together. He is literally the run ender, in the worst way possible. There is a good chance you can come up against him and have no idea your run was over until you wasted about 10-15 minutes trying to make it happen. Enough of that, time for a 3D battle. With the final attack on Black Skull Dragon, Nitemare goes down, and we've successfully beat the game for a second time using a machine only deck, but this time with access to Metalzoa at the start of the final 6. Now, let's do that all again with 3 copies of the card. Jump cut. Back at Sebek and Neku, 3 copies of Metalzoa are added to the deck, and we're tackling this as a post-game / Pocketstation run. This version of the deck will have its own ranking at the conclusion of this video. The duels go about as well as you expect. Our hands are a lot more consistent having 3 copies of the card in our deck. Regardless, the hand that we draw is purely up to RNG. I'm not expecting to have a difficult time for the remainder of these duels. So, I'm going to actually go through some more Metalzoa trivia. These are normally things that I don't include so I don't pad out the videos for too long, but given that we're redoing the final 6 once more, I think it's a good time to drop them now. And speaking of dropped, Sebek goes down. He awards us a Shadow Ghoul, and our next opponent is none other than his best man friend Neku. Getting back into things, Metalzoa has had a total of 3 erratas in the life of its card, or at least that's what it says on Yu-Gi-Oh! Fandom. The source on that is a bit patchy. A lot of the trivia I've been dropping from that site has been a bit incorrect, so take this with a grain of salt. The original effect of Metalzoa read, this monster can only be special summoned from your deck to your side of the field by offering Zoa equipped with the Metalmorph as a tribute. What its original effect is missing is the words cannot be normal summoned or set, which is what the first errata fixed up, along with swapping the word offering for the word tributing. Speaking of things offered for a tribute, Neku goes down to the might of our machines, and our path has opened up to Heishin2. Metalzoa for this duel will need a minimum of 2 equip cards to hit over Heishin's monsters. That shouldn't be too difficult, so let's continue on to the erratas. The final errata didn't change anything. When the card re-released in Legendary Collection for Joey's World, they swapped the summoned or set to say summoned/set. And that's all there is to know. Getting back to the duel, we did not draw a Metalzoa. What I managed to stuff up with this fusion was mixing up Mechanical Chaser with Launcher Spider. Unfortunately, we ended up getting hit over by a Gate Guardian, which wouldn't have happened if I'd just been paying attention. Story of my life. What this does open up is the ability to have a Metalzoa on the field. Happy days right there. All is now right with the world. The next bit of trivia worth noting about Metalzoa is its actual name in Japanese. Instead of Metalzoa, it's called Metal Devilzoa. They likely errated it for the Western release, like with all things fun in Japan. Anywho, getting back to the duel, and there's nothing left for Heishin to defend himself. Dropping a Raigeki, we attack for game with Metalzoa once more, and All Mate awards us with a blue-eyed silver zombie. I remember getting absolutely excited thinking that I had dropped the Blue Eyes White Dragon as a kid, till I read the rest of the card. Excuse my kid crying in the background, it's not old enough to know how to play Yu-Gi-Oh yet. Ignoring the rest of the story, Seto3 is babbling on about a bunch of nonsense, but really all we're caring about is challenging him to a duel. We really want to put this deck to the test, and an Ultimate Dragon is the best way to do so. Our starting hand looks promising. We have enough to tie with a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. What more can you want? We have to remember not to set our Guardian Star to Moon, otherwise he's gonna hit over us. For added carnage, we beef it up once more with another Megamorph, just to really send the message that we're gonna kick this guy's ass. Passing the turn back to him, he responds with a face down monster, thankfully. Oh, there we go. GG right there. We have 2 Raigeki. Rather than using them, I'm going to try and see if I can beef myself up to the maximum attack points possible. Passing the turn back to him, he sets a Mars, which is likely a Meteor Black Dragon, and we're up to 8,000. We attack Meteor Black, then forget how to math because we accidentally defeated Seto3. Whoops, oh well. You know how the rest of this story goes, so rather than tell it, I'm going to rap it instead. Seto3 goes down, Heishin ain't looking too proud. With a knife to his throat, situations gotten loud. Millenniums surrendered in the coffins where they slide to bring forth the dark night, leaving nowhere else to hide. The beast enters the world, causing havoc and fright. It rolls up a cigarette and uses Heishin as a light. Ashing on us now, we grow tired of his crap, so we roll up to his face and introduce him to our strap. It knows we're not afraid, so it won't take us a fool. Instead it doubles down his might and drags us down into a duel. Drawing up a hand, we'll see if this evil can learn. Boosting up a rollback king, we then decide to end our turn. Running from the action, he plays monsters in face down. Passing the game right back at me, guess it's time to end this clown. This challenge was over well before it could begin, so just sit right back and watch me drop Gatekeeper for the win. Dropping bars as fire as that flame swordsman, Darknite goes down and we're introduced to Nitemare. Time for part 2 of the rap. Nah, I'm just kidding. I can probably come up with rhymes, but my rapping and singing, or whatever you want to call it, is friggin' horrible. Anywho, we set a widespread ruin and he summons forth a perfectly ultimate Great Moth. Setting fire to the beast, he passes the turn back to us. We summon forth our Metalzoa behemoth, gotta love it. Maybe I should call it by its Japanese name, Metal Devilzoa. But anywho, number 2 for this duel, we're actually down to our final turn. We drop a Raigeki to clear his field and attack for game with Metalzoa. That was GG friggin' easy. Gives us a water element and Nitemare in this machine timeline goes away for good. I guess play that victory once more because we beat the game a second time using a machine only deck. But this time, having access to the cards from the post game. Skipping past the Duelist of the Roses code, we get onto the rankings. The original machine deck was at the upper limit of the B rank. Heck, I was close to putting it as an A rank had it not been for the poor drop rates for its top 2 cards. The post game version of the deck, however, having access to everything, sits comfortably in an SA rank, albeit at the lower end of the spectrum. Hey everyone, Jono here. Thank you all for making it to the end of part 2 of the machine run. The next challenge is currently in the works, but it's taken me a little longer than usual due to the obvious work and baby distractions. Before I sign off, I just want to give a massive shout out to my super thankers Lily Laser 666 and Kalut731 for supporting the channel. You guys and gals are friggin' amazing. I'll be posting some in-between updates in the lead up to my next videos, so be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon to stay notified of their release. As always, stay awesome people. Hope you all draw a Raigeki for the win, and I'll be seeing you all soon. Might be a little while, but definitely soon.